Bear, who decided he needed to be in on this. And I'm going to be interviewing a delightful pair of people here. Andrew Hiller, who has written A Visit to Hornytown. We're going to talk all about that title, and his sister, Alicia. And we have already established that Alicia and Andrew's dynamic repeats that of mine and my brother's, so that I'm automatically on Alicia's side in any controversy. And so if just so we know this, it's all fair right off the bat. But I'm going to start. Andrew, let's start by talking about the three-headed elephant in the room, which is the title, A Visit to Hornytown, which you're going to catch no end of shit about that. I think it also people relishing the title. I think it's a great title. How do you, I mean, was this the original title? Has it changed? Was it a visit to Teensyville or anything like that along the way?
When I first was writing the draft, I was actually the first concept of the draft. Actually, I was at the Baltimore Ferry Fair and I was seated next to Sherry Woosley, and we were talking a little bit about upcoming stories. And I had the germ of the idea for Hornytown. At that point, I wanted to set it. It was always going to be about a demon who's been framed for murder. Initially, I thought I wanted to set it in an HR office and have the person come in and complain. And I tried a couple drafts and it wasn't really flying. And began thinking, what about noir? Noir could be really fun. And I said, I don't know that I can write noir. I've never tried writing noir. And Sherry encouraged me. And she's like, just come up with a stupid line right now. And I said, well, she entered the room all horns and legs. And almost from that first moment, I was like, okay, that's the voice and it's horny. So it's Hornytown.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from. And then because I'm me, I began thinking of Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes. And I was thinking to myself, where would Bugs Bunny wind up if he forgot to take the left turn at Albuquerque? And it was like, Hornytown. And I
Hornytown.
could see the little brown sign with the two little horns on the side. And I thought it was really funny. And I did something with this book I've never done before. And I gave them the zero draft to read. And my book club is full of people who hate science fiction and fantasy. And this is a fantasy. And they wound up really adoring it. In fact, one of the chief haters of fantasy, said, I started this book thinking, who in the world could this be for? And by the end of it, I realized it was for me. And that's when I thought I had something. And so I never really realized until that book club, and this may sound really naive and innocent, I didn't think of the Porn Association authority. It didn't occur to me.
Okay, fair
And like
enough.
three of the people, my girlfriend saw it as I was printing it out and she hit me. She said, you can't read that. And it kind of made me like the name more.
Yeah.
So I stuck with it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, and Alicia, how did you feel about it when your brother came and said, and explain your role in this, actually, because you're working together in a really kind of cool way. Uh, so start with that, and then let's say how you felt about A Visit to Hornytown.
I am a voice actor and we are doing the audiobook together, which is it's a lot of fun. Just exploring the meaning of the book together, coming up with the characters and working together. It's great. I read one of the early drafts and I really liked it. And I thought coming up with the title Hornytown Chutzpah was just it just covered it, it just was, because here's this detective that we like to call a dick. So he's full of chutzpah and it's in Hornytown. And I remember we did try to come up with other titles and then, but nothing really felt honest like that title. So I thought it was great. But I was one of those people who said, Andrew, it does have another meaning. But
That's
then, we were like, well, whatever.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Um, and it's a mystery, right? Because it's noir, and you can't have a private dick and location without a mystery. And Andrew, did you? I'm always curious about the process of writing a mystery because you have to kind of fold in the clues. You have to, I think, know the ending before you begin. And so, how did you go about constructing it? And were there any particular models you looked to as far as writers that had gone before you?
You know that Arthur Conan Doyle famously always wrote his Sherlock Holmes mysteries in reverse.
Oh,
You know,
nice.
he would
Okay.
come with the ending and then say, okay, what has to happen to reach that end? And then each step he would scaffold it backwards. I am not nearly that organized. On the spectrum between pantser and plotter, I'm much more on the pantser side. So I always start, and I've said this in journalism, I say it in fiction, with either a or a. So the first thing is something has got to amuse me or intrigue me. And so I sort of give myself the general shape of it. And I know the ending in the most broad terms, which, because I'm more on the hope punk side than the grimdark side, means we're going to have a happy ending. I don't, hopefully is not a spoiler. And I began thinking, what are the things I need to have happen so that the detective can be properly confused and the reader can be alternately confused and smarter than my detective, which is the thing I like in mysteries. I like it when I figure it out before the author reveals it. You know, when you scream at the book or when you scream at the movie screen and you're like, don't go in that room, or how did you miss that? And then, of course, is the most fun part. And this brings in readers like Alicia, it brings in editors like Emily. It's going back and backseating. And it's saying, okay, now that I know everything that's there, what can I put back into the middle of the book or the very beginning of the book that will make the end resonate? Because I've often found if there's a problem with a line, it's often not the line itself. It's something that happened 20 pages before that you didn't set up.
Oh,
Sorry, I was muted there. I have to do that at least one time per interview. It's in my contract. Uh, Alicia, how does it read? And I should have asked, I'm going to ask you actually to read a little bit of it a little while if you want to prepare for that. But tell me right now, how much fun was it to read?
it was a lot of fun. There's still moments where I laugh out loud when we're doing the voicing of it. There is just it's we both love wordplay, and he does that, and he has is such an imagination of putting together things that you wouldn't necessarily think would go together, but they do. And so the juxtaposition of that just makes it really fun to read, and not something, it's different, which also makes it fun. It's not like, oh yeah, I've read that before. It's just he takes it in a really interesting place. With all these really full characters that are really fun to play.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so think about if you'll read like the first page of Hornytown after Andrew's next question. I would love to hear it, just
Okay.
because having read it, I'm just like, oh, this is going to be a delight. But Andrew, as how so the voice is very distinctive, and the voice has all the wonderful Yiddish words strewn through it. How did you work on kind of polishing and making that voice as resonant and interesting as it is?
Well, first, thank you for that. I mean, I'm glad that it works. I think it's the Carnegie Hall joke. It's practice, practice, practice. It's revision, revision, revision. The other thing I did was I leaned on one of my geek heaven periods was I got to work for a very short amount of time with the Jim Henson gang. It was primarily
Oh,
on
fun.
documentaries,
Uh-huh.
but I also got to do some skit writing with them and some voice acting with them. And one thing that Frank Oz once said is the only bad joke is when you have to apologize for. And I think we've all known that. If you have to either explain the joke or apologize for the joke didn't land. And it
Yeah.
has no chance of landing no matter how hard you try to keep it going. So I think part of it with this voice is just to go with the language and go with the Yiddishisms and go with the crazy similes and metaphors and stretch them as far as you can and then let them live. And then if someone, whether it's a beta reader or an editor or someone else says, I don't get it, or the groan is a little louder than the laugh,
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
then you might play with that.
mhm.
But generally, it really is with this one trying it actually in many respects it was also going back to the radio skills because when you're writing this kind of noir, you're writing as tight as possible.
Mhm.
You're saving as many seconds on the air as you can so you can fit your full story in. So, as much as you want to be playful and purple, you can't afford to be unless it enhances the character or it provides that sort of provides the laugh or the important information or allows you an opportunity to repeat information that then, going to your mystery question, cues the audience that this is important to the story. You've got to hear this one. So keep an eye on the fact that this has been inscribed on the walls, on the doors, on the tables. Keep in mind that certain characters are wearing this shaped locket.
Mhm.
So all of these begin to sort of say, aha, it's not about this person, the person who's been framed for murder. It's about this entity over here who might be orchestrating things.
Awesome. Awesome. Alicia, are you prepared to read for us?
I am.
Awesome.
All right. So, in true voice actor style, I will only be reading my lines. There is narration in between. So this is the moment where Saul actually decides to take on the case. And he's asking her why she can't kill. I'm a demon. Oh, I can torture, I can manipulate, I can even seduce and make a man wish for death, but I can't kill. It's outside the job description. Once someone's killed, the suffering's over. The job is torment, eternal torment. So we can't kill. Demons can't kill.
Awesome. I love that voice. I think that's kind of a perfect voice for that character. So that's awesome. Awesome. Andrew, what's it like hearing your character's given voice?
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun in a couple ways. One in is having it realized in what you were hoping would appear on the page. But the even better is when someone as talented as Alicia is doing it and they bring out a nuance that you didn't realize was in the script.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're like, ooh, I'm smarter than I thought I was because she's actually smarter than I thought I was. You know,
Yeah.
and there are also, little gems that come out. Like I have one character, Jamal Sinatra, And I realized that when we were doing his name as an audiobook, and because we're in Hornytown, which is this uplifted portion of hell brought into being because the devil realized that humans were better at torturing humans than his own
Yeah.
minions, it couldn't be Jamal Sinatra. It was Jamal Sinatra,
Yeah.
you know, and who knew that Sinatra actually had, this sort of devilish quality to it. And again, this is one of those things that your unconscious provides for you that you don't necessarily plan out, that you fully take credit for. At least I'm going to fully take credit
Well,
for
yeah,
it.
it's your unconscious. It came out of that. So yeah, it's Kate Wilhelm calls it your silent partner. And she says that the only way you have of communicating with your silent partner is by whether you're paying attention or not. And if you are, they're more likely to bring your stuff. And now it's clear that in your book, your silent partner brought you all sorts of interesting, fun stuff because it's a bouncy book. And you mentioned hope punk, and it is a hopeful book. And even though it deals with Hornytown and hell and demons and sin eating and all of that. I'm going to start this question with Alicia, but I'm going to ask both of you because both of you are intimately familiar with this book. And one of the questions that you may have wondered about, like, is the movie. How would you cast the movie? Andrew even looks prepared for this if you need time, Alicia. It's clear he's devoted thought to it, but do you want time? I'm also happy to give you. Go ahead.
Well, it's funny actually. I'm just revisiting this TV series called The Sinners with Bill Pullman. I could actually see Bill Pullman being Saul.
Nice. Nice. Okay.
Um, yeah, I have to say that I would definitely want to be in this movie. So,
Okay. So, okay, beyond question, right there. We've got that lead taken care of. Awesome.
right? Yeah, I have not admittedly given it a whole lot of thought because I've been more thinking about how I can bring the characters to life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
That makes
that's really
sense.
where my mind has been.
Awesome. Awesome. Andrew, how about you?
Two sort of answers. The first is the idealist answer. I love unknowns. I
Okay.
love the actor who, when you see them, you don't immediately say, "Oh, that's this actor, and this actor does that thing," and you're sort of lost. You get the first chance to sort of absorb the actor, and you can get more easily lost into the story. So that would be a little bit more fun for me in one respect. But there's also the part of me that used to do equity stage readings and things,
Mm-hmm.
off Broadway, and says, well, you definitely need to get some butts in the seats. So you do need someone who will drive people to see the show, unless you actually, and God love her. I mean, Murderbot, I don't think has a actor who we really knew before Murderbot, and yet the novella series itself is so wonderful, and the actors are able to portray it. And because we don't associate those actors with other roles, we're really part of that world and we accept that world. So I'd sort of like that. If I were going for actors, I'm probably thinking of all dead ones. I'd probably be thinking like Peter Falk. I'd probably
Uh-huh.
be thinking like Bob Hoskins,
Yeah. Yeah.
people like that. Maybe even an Andy Rickman kind of type of deal. Um, but I'd want someone who has, and I'll say this more globally, that sort of Mel Brooks sensibility.
Okay.
Someone who is okay saying a dumb line and can say it totally straight. Like he wasn't a Mel Brooks, like a Leslie Nielsen, also
Yeah.
another actor who isn't with us. But someone who does that kind of stuff would be amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. Alicia, got a question. What is your favorite scene or character to read?
That's really, really hard because they're all really fun. I mean, I like Connors because I get to be my New York tough kind of person. And Marge is fun because I tried in vain to make Marge German and she refused, or he refused rather.
Mhm.
He decided he was French. And I seriously tried to make him German and he said, "No, I'm French." And so that was one of those, like, I guess, like with a writer moment where you just kind of go with it. It's like, this is the way it's meant to be. Just roll with it. So I think the fun for me is in the discovery of the characters. Um, I like them all.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, and Andrew, since you're doing some of the character voicing, same question at you. What is your favorite scene or character to read?
So, as strange as it sounds, my favorite character, although he has only one line that I did, was George Washington.
That's amazing. Can you
And
could we hear George Washington's voice, please?
oh gosh, can I do him?
Hate to put you on the spot, but you can't say that without getting somebody to say no. Well, what does George Washington sound like?
So there's a folk tale in which, and it's an actual folk tale, in Washington comes up to L'Enfant on the designing of Washington, D.C., and he says, "Sir, we know that the British are coming, and we do not have the army to withstand them. So can you design the city so that the British army gets lost on its way to the capital and we have an opportunity to escape? Can you do that?" And so, and so that's sort of what I did. I don't know if I did it as well. One of the great things about working with Alicia is not only do we understand each other, but it's I get a director. I get someone who can sort of talk me through scenes and who can actually it's really funny. Sometimes she's like, "So what does your words mean? You wrote them."
That's fair enough question, right? Yeah.
It really is. But what a great thing about having a director is they get you off autopilot and they enhance what you want to do and also get you out of sort of the very linear mode that you imagined everything was in. Because there is a trap to reading noir
Mhm.
in which everything can be in that sort of Sam Spade rhythm.
Yeah.
And you don't want everything to be in that Sam Spade rhythm because while it is fun and it'll make you smirk a little bit at the beginning, eventually you're like, I get it. The
Yeah.
joke's dry.
Yeah.
So it's got to be human. And as many people have said about comedy, the best comedy is a straight line. The best comedy is not trying to be absurdly funny.
Awesome. So this is part of the promotion for the book, but what other promotions are you doing, and is there anything that's going to surprise us as far as the promotions? Like you're making cookies in the shape of hell or something. I don't, I'm now out there giving you a very wonderful promotional idea if you can just figure out what it's shaped like. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt you. Andrew, go Andrew, and then I'm going
I
to
think
ask
that
you.
would be fun. The idea I had, and I actually checked with two different rabbis to make sure this was kosher, was there is this conceit in where, since this is a Jewish detective going into hell, his weapon of choice is using a super soaker filled with Manischewitz, which is a kosher wine. And so I shot a video of myself in a trench coat singing the Kiddush, which is the Jewish blessing for the wine, as I'm pouring wine through a funnel into a squirt gun. And
Uh,
Alicia's in the background saying, Saul, that better not be my good wine. Don't do it.
That's
And
amazing.
so we have little snippets, and that isn't it's of the book, but not in the book.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. And where are people going to be able to find those if they're like, "Ooh, I need to sign up to get those immediately"?
So they're going to be, I'm going to put them on my YouTube channel. I'm
Excellent.
going to talk about, they'll probably also be on the Athos Arts YouTube channel, I would imagine. And I am going to very clumsily put them on Blue Sky and maybe Instagram, just because I use the word clumsily, because marketing is not my forte. Help me out, people.
Alicia, do you have any promotional things you want to do or uh,
Well, another thing that we did when I went down to Maryland to visit was we drove in Andrew's car. Spoiler alert, turns out to be a green Echo. Look for that in the book. Um, and I filmed as we drove from Wheaton, Maryland to DC. So we went from Maryland into Hornytown.
awesome.
Yeah. And I thought that was a fun idea.
That's awesome. Well, I have a question. How familiar are the two of you with DC? Are you like DC natives or you don't know it well or and as a kind of follow up on that, what's it like being in DC with that sort of overlay of Hornytown to it? Alicia first.
Well, we grew up 20 minutes outside of DC, so I'm pretty familiar with it.
There you go.
You know, and then when we come back, it's funny because my husband also went to school in Georgetown, so he has connection to DC. So we go out in DC, we go to the Smithsonian. We're very familiar with DC.
Nice. And what's it like having a Hornytown overlay to it now? Is my follow up. And you may not, you may be like, I don't remember it all, Kat. That's fine, but
I mean, I can follow Andrew's imagination that
okay,
it's a
okay.
bit of Hornytown there. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Andrew, same question.
Think about a city, DC, one of them, New York, Chicago, any of them. One of the dangers is to think of it as this homogenous place. Cities have layers. They have different communities and different people. And so when you think about one aspect sort of emerging into the DC sphere, it's kind of natural. And I don't think this is cynical, but when you think about DC politics, hell is not that far out of the way of your thinking. It's there. It may be more there today than it might have been a couple yesterdays ago. But I think there's always been this sort of nefarious wheeling and dealing and this auctioning of souls that happens in one part of DC, probably the part of DC when people who don't live here think of it, who don't think about the music scene, who don't think about the art scene, who don't think about the living in it. So I I think it's very natural to sort of have this idea of this extra culture imposed upon DC because DC is an amazing melting pot because of the embassies, because of the Black culture, because of the Latino culture, because of the Asian culture, because of everything else, and because of the bureaucratic culture.
This, in many ways, reads as the first book of a series. Are there going to be more adventures in Hornytown?
I hope so.
Huh?
There is this part of me, and I haven't done much more than sketch out a broad outline, that thinks the second chapter of Hornytown, because I don't want to do the mystery everyone does, I don't want it to be a killing.
Mhm.
I did the framed murder thing in the first because it's the first and it's familiar. I kind of want the second Hornytown mystery or second Hornytown caper to be about something like littering.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
or some crime which we don't necessarily explore that winds up having huge implications in many different ways, but we don't think of it as the world-changing crime or the life-changing crime.
That sounds amazing. I like that. Go for it. Uh, is there any writers that you're reading right now or TV that you're watching, anything that you want to give a shout out where you're just like, I absolutely love this and everyone should be watching slash reading it. Alicia is nodding because she's got a list of 20 things there she's getting down to read to us.
Well, there were two audiobooks I recently
Ooh,
listened
awesome.
to that I really enjoyed. One was Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher.
So good. Yes.
Yeah, really good. And the other one was Cassandra in Reverse
Oh, nice.
by Holly Smale.
Okay.
Um, and they're both in that science fiction fantasy genre. And what I liked about Cassandra in Reverse is it's sort of a Groundhog's Tale story, but not really. So taking that genre that of Groundhog's Day, but then taking it to a different place.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. And I happen to be revisiting Traitor by Charles DeLint.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Always good stuff from DeLint. Awesome.
Yeah.
And a classic Canadian choice, I believe, is celebrating Canadian fantasy and science fiction. Oh, awesome. Andrew, how about you?
Oh, most recently, I finished the second book of Django Wexler's How to Become the Dark Lord
Oh, so
by Trying.
funny.
I love the way it so respectively broke all the rules. And I really think it did it in a very reverent and appreciative way. It cared for the characters as violently funny as it was. So that was an amazing one. I've been telling a lot of people to read those two books. Um, the am I going to get the name? Anne LeBlanc's Transitive Properties of Cheese was amazing. A.D. Sway's Hummingbird Gambit was wonderful.
Okay. Okay.
Um, there was those things where I'm constantly reading, and so when people ask me what I'm reading, my mind goes blank.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, and let me just say this because I think it's part of a different conversation, but it winds up being true. I think nowadays 75% of my favorite genre speculative authors are all women. And
Nice.
and what
Yeah.
it wasn't by design. It's just they were writing interesting stories. And so I began reading them and sort of finding a world which was different than the worlds that made me fall in love with fantasy and
Yeah.
science fiction when I was a teenager.
Mhm.
And some of them, they adopt the wonderful aspects of those foundational books, but some of them open up new avenues and they explore it in a way which is profoundly richer
Nice.
because they aren't accepting certain truisms which are false. And so you'll often find me reading books of that ilk. Um, and I probably on the YouTube chat after we're done will go and scramble and write a list of 20 books.
Oh, that would be fabulous. I mean, we're always, I think everybody's both has to be read piles that are like 500 books, but at the same time, we're always like, oh, more to add. That would be delightful, right? It's just,
And to
that's it.
it's sort of paraphrase R. Kwong, I've always believed our TBR pile, our to be read pile, should be like the Tower of Babel, and it should collapse and crush us, and that should be our end.
That should be, that's how I want to go. Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. Well, so where are people who are enchanted by your voices and are like, I want to see slash hear more of either of you. Alicia, where where can people find you and find out more about any appearances or audiobooks you're narrating?
Well, I have an audio play that is called Petey, and it is on Unseen Theater's website. If you go to, I think it's www.unseentheater.com.
Okay.
Double check that. They can also check me out. My website is Alicia at aliciahillervo.com. Yeah, to find out more.
Awesome. Awesome. Andrew, same question.
So if you go to my website, andrewhiller.net, you can find books, you can find some old radio pieces I did, um, my little children's book, Pitter Patty Finds Another Day, about a lonely little rain cloud who's always being chased away by the meanest song ever sung, which you've probably sung, Kat.
Oh
Rain,
gosh.
Rain, Go
Oh,
Away.
rain, rain, go away. Absolutely. So
Have you
much.
ever noticed another day never comes? So there's that. And I will be going, I guess the next live event I'll be doing is something called Fright Reads, which is in Laurel, Maryland.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. Well, that is our wrap up. And I will mention I am Kat Rambo and I run the Rambo Academy for Wayward Writers, which is a writers community, and also do a little writing on the side now and again. You should go and follow Andrew, go and follow Alicia, and you should follow Athos Arts if you're not following it already. So I'm going to do that YouTube thing and say, mash that subscribe button and all of that. So I've never done that before. All right. So I'm signing off. This has been a delight. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.